Most programs don't fail, they just never officially end. Here's the 4-phase shutdown nobody teaches you. Sarah ran a 2-year digital transformation program for a mid-size insurance company. 18 projects, 40 vendors, 120 team members. The last milestone was delivered on a Thursday afternoon. By Friday morning, half the team had already moved to new assignments. Nobody signed off on anything. 6 months later, 3 vendors were still sending invoices for work nobody could verify. That is what happens when a program ends but never officially closes. Program closure sounds straightforward, but it is one of the most neglected disciplines in the entire profession. According to PMI's Pulse of the Profession report, organizations waste almost 12% of their project investment due to poor performance, and sloppy closure is a big part of that number. Teams sprint to the finish line, celebrate briefly, and scatter. The sponsor moves on. Budget codes stay open. Contracts linger without formal termination. Lessons learned never get documented because everyone assumes someone else will handle it. What you are left with is a zombie program, technically finished, but still draining resources and creating confusion. Closing a program properly is not just administrative cleanup. It is how you protect the value your team spent months or years creating. The first real phase of closure is confirming that every single deliverable has been completed and accepted. This is not a casual check. Pull up your program charter and your benefits realization plan side by side. Walk through each committed outcome and ask one brutal question: did we actually deliver this, and can someone prove it? Talk to the business owners who requested each deliverable, not just your project leads. What your team calls done and what the business considers done are sometimes very different things. If gaps exist, document them honestly. Create a punch list with owners and deadlines for anything still outstanding. A formal deliverable acceptance log is your best friend during this phase. Get signatures, digital or physical, from every accountable stakeholder. Without written acceptance, you will spend the next year fielding emails that start with the words, "I thought we agreed that this would be included." Financial closure is where things get uncomfortable, especially on large programs. Start by reconciling every budget line against actual spend. Close out all purchase orders, vendor contracts, and service agreements with explicit end dates. Work with your procurement and finance teams to ensure no recurring charges survive the program. One Fortune 500 company discovered they had been paying a cloud hosting vendor $18,000 a month for 2 years after a program ended, simply because nobody canceled the subscription. Review any remaining contingency or reserve funds. If money is left over, work with your sponsor to formally release it back to the portfolio. Document every financial exception and variance with a short explanation. This is not busy work. A clean financial close protects your reputation and your organization's bottom line. Stakeholders sign-off is the governance gate that makes closure official. Draft a program closure report that summarizes scope delivered versus scope planned. Include a clear status on every benefit the program was supposed to generate. Present this to your steering committee or governance board in a dedicated closure meeting, not as a 5-minute add-on to another agenda. Give stakeholders room to ask questions, raise concerns, and formally vote to close the program. This meeting is also where you address any residual risks or issues that will transfer to operations. Assign clear owners for anything that survives the program. The governance board's written approval to close is your single most important artifact. Without it, you have no protection if someone later claims the program failed to deliver. File that approval where it cannot be lost or disputed. Knowledge transfer might be the phase that delivers the most long-term value, yet it is almost always rushed. Schedule dedicated sessions where your program team walks the operations team through every system, process, and workflow that was changed or created. Do not just hand over documentation and walk away. Sit with the people who will live with this work every day and answer their questions until they feel confident. Capture lessons learned while the experience is still fresh in your team's memory. Run a structured retrospective, not a vague what went well, what went poorly exercise, but a focused session that asks specific questions. What decisions would we reverse if we could? Which vendor relationships worked and which ones caused friction? Where did our estimates miss badly and why? A McKinsey study found that organizations who systematically capture and reuse lessons learned improve delivery performance by up to 20% on future programs. Store these insights somewhere people will actually find them, not buried in a SharePoint folder with 7 layers of subfolders. The final phase is about honoring the humans who made this happen, releasing resources properly, and archiving everything. Celebrate your team publicly, specifically, and genuinely. Name the people who solved the hardest problems. Acknowledge the ones who stayed late during the ugly months. Recognition does not have to be expensive. A thoughtful email from the sponsor that calls out individual contributions by name can mean more than a gift card. Formally release every team member back to their functional manager or resource pool with a clear end date. Close all program-level tools, communication channels, and shared drives after archiving critical documents. Your archive should include the charter, closure report, financial summary, lessons learned, risk register, and stakeholder approval. Create a one-page program summary that any future leader could read in 5 minutes and understand what this program accomplished and what it cost. Open your calendar right now and block 30 minutes this week. Pick the program or project you finished most recently that never got a proper closure. Write down 3 things: what deliverables were accepted, what contracts are still open, and what lessons your team learned that nobody documented. Even a partial closure done late is better than no closure at all. That single habit of closing cleanly will set you apart from most program managers in the industry. You earned the results, now protect them. That's a wrap, thanks for watching. If this gave you one idea you can use today, hit like and subscribe. See you in the next one.